So we are going to be looking at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are on episode 42, and in the last episode was the Great World War II, where we saw fighting all over the world, mainly in Europe, but we also saw fighting over here in North America, Africa, and the Indonesian Isles. If you guys enjoy this series, make sure to like and subscribe. In this episode, we're mainly going to be focusing on, if not only focusing on, the peace treaty of World War II. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into the peace treaty of World War II. Quick disclaimer, there will be no daily Sri Lanka update in this video because I'm just going to calm everything. There probably won't be any wars in this video. But the first thing we will be looking at is the peace treaty between Norway and Sweden. They actually, at the end of the war, got better relations than they did at the start of the war. And that could have been because they agreed on invading this country right here, which we're going to go ahead and look at a peace treaty. We see Norway taking over these provinces, while we see Sweden taking over the rest. And here's what the new northern part of Europe looks like. And we actually have Sweden and Norway on very good relations right now. Now, I'm not saying like friends relations. I'm saying good for this region of Europe. Let's go ahead and look at the Lime team's claims because they kind of went crazy inside of the war. They wanted to restore their empire, and it looks like they did, gaining even more land. Let's go ahead and look at a peace treaty. We have, if you remember, the Lime team wanted to invade into the Dutch only to free a nation because they felt like the Dutch was gatekeeping Europe underneath their empire. And so they're going to go ahead and release this nation right here, which was the Brown team's puppet state. And now it is a free nation. We're going to be having the province layer on for these next few bits, so just get used to it. Before the Lime team actually officially recognizes their borders, they're actually going to give land over to Wales, and that is because they left the war to end colonialism. The Lime team also wants to end colonialism, and Wales left the war to end colonialism. So the Lime team is going to grant over some land over here, kind of next to Brittany, but it's mainly just over here in France. The Lime team are going to take over these areas of Europe like this. Let me explain this to you after I erase that capital. The Lime team used to rely kind of over in this region over here. But then the Red team came along, like in World War I, and kicked them out that way. They went over here, and they have been neutral ever since. Now they want to show the world that they are something else, so they went ahead and took 2 provinces away from the Dutch up these 2, and took all of these provinces, I think, away from the Northern Italian team, which will be now called the Northern Italian team. You will see why in a second. But as if you were an OG, you will remember that the Lime team's capital used to be right here in that major city until they got kicked out by the Italians. Well, they want to put that capital city back over there, and so they are going to be assimilating this land quite a bit to hopefully soon get this land assimilated enough where they can move that capital city back over there. But anyways, that is, I'm pretty much just going to call this France now, because it's pretty much just France, just a little bit divided up a little bit more. And, I like these borders. Let's go ahead and talk about this situation right here. This is, Italy. It used to be united, almost united underneath one country, and that was, Italy. But that country used to be called Northern Italy, because this red team right here used to own Italy. Let's go ahead and look at a peace treaty because, there's also this purple rebellion. And if you watch Ada's Pro series, you will know that that is the purple team, but not the exact purple team, of course. The red team are going to give these areas back over to the Northern Italian team because they don't really have the power to fully take back the Italian peninsula yet. They kind of want to slowly incorporate it back into what is Italy, but they're going to have to fight some wars if they want to fully bring it back. They grant all this land over to the rebels over here because, if you remember, there used to be a country down here, but now it is turned into this. And it will probably stay like this. I don't really plan on bringing that country back. And so now let's go ahead and look at, well, the red team. Which the red team will be controlling these provinces right here. Not the whole sea. It's just that island. And the red team, after being kicked out of Italy by the northern Italians, are finally back inside of their home, inside of Italy. The red Italians are going to move their capital back over to Italy, well, to Rome, which was their old capital. And they're actually, well, in a little bit, once I get over to the peace treaty over here, they actually let go this area over here, and they're going to turn it into its own sovereign nation. Anyways, that is the peace treaty of Italy. Let's go ahead and go over to Greece. Starting over here, agreement between this new purple Greek country and the old green Greek country will be made, with the purple one getting these provinces. Over here, it's pretty much the same border they had, but a little bit different with, well, the provinces being like that. Between the purple team and Albania will get those lands, while the purple Greeks will get that. And down over here, the borders are going to stay because somehow I made it so they perfectly connect up. It's crazy, I know. But there is one more country we need to address, and that is Turkey. Or Anatolia, if you like to call it that. Anatolia will be taking over all of these Aegean Sea islands. And there is the, well, peace treaty of Greece. I will give all these countries capitals later. But now let's go ahead and go up here to this country. Well, let's do these guys over here. Starting off with Romania, they will be getting some land that they took from the Farmers Union. We have Romania going to be getting these provinces and territories, and they are expanding. Their whole goal of joining in on World War II was to expand and reform, well, their old empire, which, if you remember, in World War I, I'm pretty sure it was World War I, collapsed. But now it is back and better than ever. Now we have to look at the Yugoslavian and, well, Slovenian peace treaty. Starting off over with Slovenia, they are going to be getting these provinces over here. They get one from Italy and one from, well, Poland, but Poland might not exist soon. Yugoslavia will get all of this land up over here, and some provinces along over here that Russia will give to them. There is the peace treaty of the Balkans, and now all of southern Europe is done. Let's go ahead and go up over here to Central and Western, a little bit, well, the brown team and Russia. First off, if you remember in the war, Ukraine kind of, well, they invaded into Russia, if you can see right here. There is a slight difference in colors. They invaded into them, but they, well, stopped, and they actually surrendered over to Russia to keep their sovereignty. So they're just going to just keep the same borders. But now let's look at a peace treaty between the Duchy of Warsaw, the Dutch, and Russia. The Duchy of Warsaw, which, by the way, I did not know was a real-life country. I just figured that out recently. I mean, I had an idea that it existed, but I didn't know it was an actual country. Duchy of Warsaw will be taking these provinces. And if you remember back in World War I, when they got their freedom from Russia, they kind of had a weird, like, little thingy, like a little panhandle. I can't mimic that because I didn't have provinces in this area, so this is the closest that I will get to it. How about this? I'll give these two provinces over to Warsaw to kind of give it that familiarity over, and yeah, I feel like that is a good border, and there is the peace treaty of Warsaw. Now it's time for the Russian and the Dutch peace treaty. This peace treaty will be divided up like this. Russia is going to get all of this land out over here. That border looks terrible. I fixed it a little bit. The rest of this is going to be going over to the Dutch, and the Dutch have kind of traded land for quite a bit of land. Poland is now gone, and the Dutch are now very big. Poland actually does really want their independence already, so who knows how long this is going to last. But that is going to be the peace treaty of Europe, I think. That is everything. If I'm looking, scanning. Yes, the European peace treaty is done. Let's go ahead and go look at elsewhere. Let's go ahead and go look at the Middle East, where we see a peace treaty between, well, Iran, Cyprus, Israel, and Babylon and Kuwait against Iraq, which Iraq is a pretty old country and they will no longer exist in this Middle Eastern area. Let's see what that peace treaty will look like. Kuwait is going to be getting these provinces over here and incorporating them into their, well, kind of empire. I wouldn't consider Kuwait an empire. I would consider them just a cool country, because I actually really like the borders of this country. Now it's Babylon's turn, as Babylon will be taking over these borders. And like I said with Kuwait, I actually really like the borders of Babylon. This whole region right here, these borders are good, and I'm excited to use them more. Let's go ahead and knock out the rest of the Middle East really quickly. Israel will be handed over these lands right here. Cyprus will be getting these lands over. And now we just have Iran, which will be getting the rest of this territory. And there's the peace treaty. Iraq has been fully carved up between all these powers, and I actually really like these borders. Let's go over to Africa just for a sec. I'll leave Africa for the last, but we need to discuss Israel because, well, they did invade into Africa. There are no provinces in this region yet, so I'm going to have to make up borders on the spot. Israel is going to be getting these borders right here. They got some land out of other territories, and that was because I didn't want just the borders that they invaded. I want better stuff, and that is also why they won't be getting the exact stuff they also invaded. And there is Israel. They are actually very big now, and actually are probably very strong. But anyways, that is, well, pretty much all of the Middle Eastern stuff, because, well, let's go ahead and look at the peace treaty over here, because some stuff will be changing. There are no provinces over here yet, so, I mean, there is one, but it's around the capital right here. So I'm going to have to also make up borders on the spot. That is what's going to have to happen for pretty much the rest of these guys, because, well, I haven't really made borders for them yet. Here's what the peace treaty is looking like. Up over here, we have the red team actually getting a lot of land out of this. This like purplish country right here united with a rebellion that was right over here. Those two form this, and this country kind of wants to be the successor, like the true successor of the Union. Of course, no one really sees them as that. We also have this small country right here, and this one. They might not exist for a long time. We have this country right up here also popping up. They also merged with the country down here. And now here comes the interesting part. We have the formation of the Persian Union. I'm going to keep it this color. I might change it in the future. But this is going to be a new superpower in the world. I'm going to say it right there. This Persian Union is going to kind of be like the Persian Empire of this timeline. It is a big, big country. And it's probably going to have a lot of influence throughout the Middle East and Central Asia. But now let's go over to India, as the brown team is going to colonize all of these Indian lands. But Sri Lanka, because I guess I lied, there will be a Sri Lanka update. This city-state that was right here will gain all of the Indian territory that was right there. And there is the Indian, peace treaty. It was very quick because the brown team kind of laid claim to it very quickly. Let's go ahead and do Japan and Korea. These two will be very simple as, well, the Dutch will get that. And they're actually going to convince the fascists to give them that island right there. Then the new Koreans are going to take over all of Korea. They're going to nominate the West Koreans' capital as theirs because it is more populated and has a better, score in the world, I guess, if you want to put it as that. But there's the peace treaty between those two. I don't really have provinces inside of Asia yet. I will begin working on those very soon, though. But now let's go ahead and look at China. China annexes all of the purple China, and is actually going to take more land than they actually got out of Vietnam. And the reason they do this is because, well, this is a new country popping up. It's not going to be this whole territory, but this rebellion knows that if it were to go to war with China, they're not scared of China, but if they were to go to war with China, they would lose. So they're going to be smart in accepting the ultimatum, giving over all that land. There is the peace treaty of China, and China has pretty much regained all of its territory. They might go after this Taiwanish country, but they don't really have ambitions there. They did used to own it, but they actually changed their language to Taiwanese. So they probably won't be going after this Taiwanese country, unless I say they might. Let's go ahead and look at the peace treaty of Vietnam because, well, Vietnam won't be going away, but they will be kind of splitting in half. So now we have, well, Vietnam getting spit back out, but they are a lot smaller than they used to be because, well, this whole country is going to become a new country. I'm going to be calling them purple. No, it is not the old empire. I just like this color. I will be calling this country Thailand, even though it's not really in the majority Thailand area. I just think that Thailand will suit this area. There is the peace treaty of Vietnam. Now let's go over to Indonesia because this is going to be a big one. The strongest country in the world has just fallen apart. The biggest economy in the world has just fallen apart. So, let's go ahead and look at this because the islands are actually very divided. We have Taiwan getting all of the Philippines. They're going to just get all of those. And I was thinking about making the Philippines its own separate nation, but I feel like Taiwan would probably suit it better right now. I'm not saying it won't ever happen again because, actually, I don't even know if that's on my channel anymore. Don't worry about that. Anyways, let's go ahead and look at the peace treaty between, well, let's look at the peace treaty with this, like, cyan country. It's not Taiwan, but let's look at it. Over here, they're going to get these lands right here, and the Dutch will grant them these lands right here. And this is kind of like the Indonesia if it were to still exist. I would consider this the most Indonesian country out of them all. Now let's go ahead and look at this yellowish country right here. They will be getting these lands and also these lands, turning their capital city into the old Indonesian one. So I guess you could also say this is the most Indonesian one because it actually has the capital. If you cannot tell, they are dividing up Indonesia, well, this main island, because they do not want this to happen again. Anyways, if you can't tell, this bluish one will get this island right there. And Indonesia is pretty much fully carved up except for this area, which I will sorting out the border, which this Indonesian country will be getting those lands. And Indonesia is fully sorted out. I actually really like those borders, so yay. Now let's look at Australia because, well, it's now just colonizers. Well, I guess it was still only colonizers. If you don't remember, China did, invade into their own teammate and take over these lands. That just shows how much China does not give a shit. I'm joking. I would never say that word. I would absolutely never say that word. China is going to get these lands. They don't really care much about colonizing, like I said. That's why they didn't get more of North America. They also kind of like the Dutch team and the European powers, but since they were so compliant, the Dutch team will be giving over some of these islands over here, over to the Chinese, mostly all of them actually, or the Chinese because they actually have a very good friendship. The Dutch team is going to be getting these lands over here inside of Australia, as well as Papua New Guinea, pretty much the other half that this cyan team did not claim. And the rest will be going over to the Blue Iberians who did not claim the rest. But I just realized I need to fix this border right here and almost done. Yeah. The Blue Iberians are also going to be getting New Zealand and these islands out here. I think that's Tasmania. And there is the division of Australia for the second time, and all of Indonesia's old lands, except for the ones in Australia and North America, have been dealt with. Let's go ahead and go over to North America and South America, which we actually have California becoming the first independent country inside of North America. So let's look at the Peace Treaty of California. In this Peace Treaty, California is going to be pretty much getting all of California. So, yeah, pretty much California is just going to get these lands up over here. And there is the Peace Treaty of California. I almost forgot. California is going to get Hawaii. Now let's look at the colonizers, because this is going to be a little interesting. The northern Italians have just lost all of Italy, and they're not even a top 10 power anymore. So can they really hold on to their colonies? I'm going to say no. At least the American ones. Which, well, this is going to be divvied up in a peace treaty between the Dutch and the blue team. Super fair treaty, as the blue team is going to get these lands while the Dutch gets the rest. And now the Dutch is pretty much just going to claim over the rest of this because they can. And well, there is the peace treaty of North America. It is pretty much just one colonizer now. The Dutch pretty much has all of North America. And well, yeah, let's go down to South America. Which, with the exiting of the Red Italians from South America, they're going to give this nation freedom. These guys are going to become their own sovereign state with this color. They will also take over all the lands that they invaded into from Wales. And if you don't remember, Wales is getting rid of all their colonies in a future episode. So they're just going to give all these lands over to this team right here. And now they're the only, well, actually no, because in this universe, technically, this area over here is considered South America. In a future episode, we will see the Wales completely uncolonized, but not in this episode. Anyways, now that this is done, let's go ahead and go over to Africa. Which first, this isn't an official border, but Yugoslavia will be fully taking over all of Greece's colony. I'm actually going to lighten Yugoslavia's color a little bit, so that way you will actually be able to tell the difference between Israel and Yugoslavia. Now let's work out a border between them and this new country right here, which this peace treaty will be going something like this with, it's pretty even. We have this pink country also working out a border with the blue team, which is just going to be this pink team getting all of these lands right here, and we will see if they will expand anymore, because they will. Let's look at a peace treaty with the blue team, well, with the lands they got. They will be annexing those lands and also taking these lands. This isn't permanent, and this same thing will happen with the brown team. They will colonize more, it's just not all of it yet, because there will be some new countries popping out of the Indonesian colonies. The first country we have is kind of the Horn of Africa, or Ethiopia if you want to call it. We have a country like that popping up. We have this country looking something like this, with them having a grayish color. And that is all the land that that country will get. We now have a country coming out right over here, which will have a border of something like that. And we're going to give this pink country a connection up with the Red Sea. This pink country will take these lands, and they are done expanding. And I actually really like the borders of that country. The rest of these lands will be made into its own country, and it will look something like that. Now we have a couple more countries popping out of these new lands, and they will look something like this. We have two new countries popping up, one right there and one right here. Now what is this color? This is a terrorist group country, kind of like the one inside of Ada's Pro's series. The reason this country is here is because during when Indonesia reigned here, Indonesia mistreated these people very badly. So much, in fact, there are many different people running around here trying to kill each other. It's an anarchist state, and it is very, very, very not good to go around. The government, though, is very stable. They kind of just let the people do whatever they want to do. And with this, it's actually working very, very good for these people. Although it is chaotic, it is working. So, the brown team doesn't really like this country that much. But they're going to have to deal with it, because now they're just going to expand into the rest of Africa. We have the blue team expanding into these areas, and they are going to be done colonizing, while we have the Dutch getting the rest. And so all of the Indonesian colonies have been, well, divvied up besides the Madagascar ones. The Dutch are going to get these new lands, and for the rest of these lands, they're actually going to be split into some new territories. Only one will become a new territory, being this lime one up north, while the terrorist organization is going to get the other part. Over in these areas, the brown team is going to take this area, and they're also going to take South Africa, because, well, the Italians are not capable enough on going all the way down here. So they're just going to give it back over to the brown team. And now the brown team completely surrounds this terrorist organization. They're not going to invade them because that would actually kind of get the rest of the world angry. But they will just watch them very carefully. And for the final part of this peace treaty, I think we are going to have the blue team take over the rest of the Italian team's colonies. And now this whole World War II is finally over. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe. This took me a long time. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye. And today's daily shoutout is going to be going over to Soulball OT Otrav. I don't even know. This guy right here, he makes some good mapping content. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.